Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Inside the Force. Dave Cottingham with Hannah Burr. Good evening,
Hello.
Hannah.
Good evening. How are you?
I am doing good. I feel like we've been we've been recording these episodes actually a little later in the week recently,
Yes.
and I've been able to let these episodes sink in a little bit more, but not this one.
No, 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 no. And I think like that's partially because you're on vacation or you have work, or I'm working late into the evening, so like we can't.
Yes.
Yeah, this one I feel like if we had to choose an episode to let it sit, it probably should have been this one.
Probably should have been this one. But that's okay. We're going to do our best. How many times have you watched it?
Two.
Twice. Okay, same here. Same here. Good. All right, so we will get into episode 7 of The Acolyte. Of course, thank you to our patrons as always, and a lot to do with how we're doing our show is a lot of your comments and things like that. So we'll go through some of those here in a second. But yeah, appreciate the support. Everybody else that's interested in possibly supporting the show, patreon.com/inside the force. Go check out the tiers. I actually just updated the tiers a little bit. Just
Ooh.
yeah, I renamed some things, and I wanted to just put that out there. And I came up with a better schedule, so I'm going to follow that schedule and get some more content up there. Now. So I wanted to make sure everybody at their levels are getting what they deserve. So so go there, check those out, and let me know how you feel about those. One bit of news before we get into these comments, Hannah. I don't know if you saw anything, but and I haven't seen anything official, but I do see some tweets out there right now saying that, and this is coming from like Hollywood Reporter and things like that that usually have the inside scoops, but they're saying that there is in fact a new animated show in the works right now.
I did not see this. Excuse me?
There's no other news about that, so it's nothing about where it is or what it is about. But apparently and I feel like that's not earth-shattering news, right? Bad Batch is over.
Right.
They usually have something kind of getting ready, so but let the speculation begin. What is this thing about? Who knows? But I feel like there's always been an understanding that the animated shows take some time. Obviously, it takes usually a year or two to kind of get a season done. So I anticipate, like Bad Batch, this has kind of been worked on recently. So I think they're to the point where it's almost ready to see. When I mean by see something, I think we're going to get a trailer sometime between Acolyte and Skeleton Crew.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I think we're going to get something as early as early next year after Skeleton Crew goes off. So
That would be interesting.
and I think it's Ventress.
Probably is. Because they already gave like a huge teaser into the fact that her story isn't over yet. So it's probably Ventress and Boss.
Yep.
Probably.
Yep. I think so. I saw somebody on. I think I saw somebody on social. They posted the Star Wars eras, with all the timeline, like the different logos,
Uh-huh.
and they said something like, "Please don't do this era," and they marked out the from episode 1 to Rise of Skywalker. They're like, stay out of here. He's like, they wanted the new animated series in a different era outside of that. I just don't think that's going to happen yet.
I think it'll happen eventually, but not yet.
Correct. Yeah, I do too.
Yep. Well, it's funny. You said that, and I thought you were going to mention the unofficial reports that I saw about season 2 of Acolyte.
Ooh, wow, really?
I've seen a couple of
I have not
articles.
seen that.
Now, once again, not official. There's
Yes.
some articles saying like showrunner talks about what season 2 will look like.
Oh, okay.
So I'm like, okay. And some of these articles are a little older, but I was researching the other day because I was wondering, because with at the end of the day, people could bash a TV show all they want, but what matters are the views.
True.
So I don't know if the viewership numbers got in, but I saw some of those headlines floating about the other day, and I was like, oh, so there is a season 2? No, it hasn't
Well,
been officially announced, but there have been
yeah.
headlines saying that.
I saw that it actually, I believe it ranks fourth in viewership right now of all the live action shows.
Well, then there you go.
And ahead of, well, it's only 5, but it is ahead of, apparently viewership is ahead of Andor.
Interesting.
Because you got Mandalorian number 1, and what's funny was I didn't expect this, but Book of Boba Fett was 2, and then Ahsoka, and then Acolyte, and then Andor.
Interesting.
Oh, and actually, so what's not on that list is Obi-Wan.
Well, I was about to ask, where does Obi-Wan land?
So I didn't even see Obi-Wan. I only saw a list of 5.
Huh.
So Obi-Wan must not have been as high as I thought it was. I thought it was higher, but anyway.
Well, but Andor is getting a second season, right?
Correct.
So if Andor is getting a second season, there's no reason why Acolyte won't get a second season.
Yeah, but I feel like Andor was always planned to be 2 seasons. So
True.
So I don't, it wasn't based on the viewership, but I think this will have to be. But I do think that, I don't know. I think it really going to depend on how this thing ends next week.
Yes.
So, yeah. And I'm really eager to start talking about this in a second. So
segue.
Anyway, last week. So anyway, animated show possibly coming, should be coming. I think that'll probably drop next year. Let's see. So let's just do some comments from last week's episode because
yes.
Episode 6 was an interesting episode. So let's see. First up, Thrawn Addict says, "Looking forward to your Rogue One commentary. I think the movie is my favorite from the Disney era and can't wait to see Hannah's reaction to see if her opinion on it has changed slightly after the Andor series.
It's possible.
Which in my opinion elevates the movie."
Okay.
Good point.
Okay.
Yeah. And he says, "I did enjoy certain parts of episode 6, but coming from how good episode 5 was, episode 6 was a bit underwhelming. I don't mind episodes with less or no action, but felt like the runtime was too short for this episode and would have liked more between Chimera and Osha because I don't buy the fact that she is getting swayed to the dark side so easily and quickly. I think they could have done more time between them, but think time is running out because they only have 2 episodes left, with one of them being a flashback. I still enjoyed Chimera in the episode and want to learn more about him as he was very vague throughout. I quite like the theory that Vanestra knows Chimera due to the scar on his back, which might have been caused by her lightsaber whip. Bit of a coincidence that they show both the whip and the scar in the same episode. The planet they were on was interesting and like how they had minds of cortosis. I'm not sure if it's a planet we are aware of, if it's something from the EU Legends. I think it is from the Legends.
Yeah.
I'm still struggling with May. Previous 2 episodes, she wants to give herself up to the Jedi, and now she suddenly wants to kill Master Soul. I don't really get her motivation. Also still frustrated that Soul took so long to figure out May was not Osha. I really want to love this show and have enjoyed all of it, and still very intrigued to where this all goes, but think that it's been a bit hit and miss overall. Do you both think this all wraps with this season, or you think season 2 is in the works?" Funny. "Just want to know Chimera's past, who is, and if he has a master or who that is. Your Plagueis theories is interesting, though, as I thought Chimera's line about a very long time was very telling that there was a big reveal to that. Take care, and may the Force be with you." So, yeah, we just mentioned about season 2. I think that is possibly going to happen, but I think it depends on next week.
Yeah.
Kimura Jade says, "Sorry, I'm not changing my YouTube screen name." Awesome.
Awesome.
Because her YouTube screen name is her name, actually. She says, I agree with it. It's hard to compare this show with House of the Dragon because they're airing at the same time. The writing on House of the Dragon is very good. And the
Mm-hmm.
writing on the Acolyte is showing some cracks that makes part of it hard to enjoy. It's not like every series needs to have me scream at my TV, but there's parts of the Acolyte that should make me feel things but falls flat. It makes me wonder how Disney is affecting the creative process. One of the best things about streaming services was it broke the rigid episodes have to be this long with seasons, this long formula.
Oh, okay.
They had more room to tell a story without the need for rushing or a lot of filler, but Disney seems so scared to commit to things. I wonder if the director goes to them and says, "This is the story I want to tell, and I need this many episodes time to do it," or if Disney approves the concept and sets a limit on the episodes. Budget is obviously also a concern. I just feel like this huge franchise is being constrained over more than just budget. So that's very interesting,
Yeah.
because to be honest, I think both scenarios exist. Because the first thing you have to do is when you pitch an idea, which is clearly what happened here. Leslie Headland had this idea, went to Kathleen Kennedy and pitched it, and based on outlines and who they can get cast wise and things like that, they probably came up with a rough budget and said, how many episodes is this? And I bet you, like always, there's probably some negotiation. Like, well, I want to do 10 episodes. Like, well, I don't think you can. I think you only can do 8. And then the writing has to be condensed. And so I think there's a lot. Hannah, this. It's like there's a lot that goes into before you even start pre-production. There's probably a year of developing that has to happen.
It's not like we do this for a living or anything.
Yeah, right. So it's like So I think a lot of both of those things that you talked about, Kimora, that happens. I think creatives is always a negotiation. Creatives always want to have all the time, but they always don't have the money, so they have to sacrifice some of the creative in order to fit. Because those budgets are, I hate to say it, but those budgets are pretty locked. Like they can't
Yes.
go back and say, "Oh, well, we need 10 more million." It's like, no, figure it out. You got to figure it out how to do it with what you got. And now the rumor is this has been the most expensive series.
That does
Star
not
Wars series.
surprise me.
Yeah. So, do people think that was worth it? I don't know, but
Yeah, it's such an interesting process, and especially when it comes to budget and you have to figure it out, you have to make it work. Because of course everybody wants all the money in the world, but you can't have all the money in the world.
yeah, or they want everything for nothing.
Exactly. That's another pretty bad case scenario too. But actually, another interesting detail, and I don't think this is necessarily how television works, but this is how film works. And I only know this because she was my professor, but she's also a friend of mine. She's a screenwriter in LA. She wrote for movies, and one was Mom's Night Out. I think that's what it was called, Mom's Night Out. It was that Christian-based film or faith-based film. She was sharing with us in this master when I was getting my master's. She shared this to our class, and she said, most of the time, if you write a script and a company buys it, they bring someone in to change all the dialogue.
That's right.
And the dialogue is not anything you wrote. So if it's up for an award and you win, you won based on somebody else's work.
Right.
Or if it gets smashed for the script writing, you're like, but that's not my work. But it doesn't matter. They hired a ghostwriter to come in and rewrite the dialogue.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the reason why she shared that is she had the very unique experience with her movie for Mom's Night Out is that I think it's called Mom's Night Out. I'm going to research that title and make sure I'm saying that correctly because she's brilliant. She said they only changed a couple lines of dialogue. The majority of it was hers. So she said, that's such a rare experience. So I don't know enough in scripted content if that's the same case. I do know sometimes when you're pitching a TV series, they do ask for a pilot episode script.
Right.
So I don't know if they like got the scripts and then had someone come in and rewrite the dialogue, or if that is the original dialogue. So
Yeah,
that's something to consider as well.
that's true. That's true. Yep. Yeah, it's a big process, and before they even get into shooting, it's a lot of stuff is locked down based on what you can do, and you can clearly tell. You can clearly tell, in my opinion, when I watch stuff like this, you can clearly tell where the money went on
Oh
certain
yeah.
things, and what they didn't have money to do, So, but it's a great question. It's a great theory because I think a lot. I mean, shows are always 100% shows are affected by the budget.
Oh yes.
100%. I mean, even your cast is affected by the budget. Sometimes you can't get the people you want because they're too much.
Very rarely you'll get an actor who's like, I'm in love with the script so much, I don't care what you pay me, I'm going to do it.
That's true too. Exactly. Yep. I mean, if you think about one of the best examples that I can think of in the movie industry is the movie Crash. Do you remember that movie? Have you ever seen that movie?
Yeah.
So it has Brendan Fraser, Don Cheadle, Sandra Bullock. I mean, you can go down. It's a massive cast. Ludacris was in there. I mean, it was like just it was a great movie. Did you ever? And it won an Oscar. Like, it won Best Picture. And I remember watching that movie that year and thinking, if this doesn't win Best Picture, I don't something wrong with that. And it was true. But here's the thing. Do you know what the budget for that movie was?
I don't even want to know.
Take a guess, because just to keep in mind, this wasn't a studio movie. This was independent, and then it was purchased by the studio and put out in theaters. So this was just like you said. This was actors. I mean, Michael Pena was in it, who's a massive actor now. But think about an independent movie that these actors came together and said, you know what, let's just make this movie and see what happens.
All right. Well, if that's the case, I'm going to go with 20 mil.
$6 million.
Only 6?
$6 million was how much they made that movie for.
That's
Terrence Howard was in that. Thaddeus Newton was in that. The movie it's one of the best movies ever made, in my opinion. And it was only made for $6 million. So it goes to show you, just like what you said, if actors truly believe in a script, they will do it for little money. But
Doug Jones, I think, said the same thing, because he came to talk to us when I was in my undergrad, and he said, you send me a script. If I believe in the story, I don't care what you pay me.
That's right.
This is what I love to do, and I love telling good stories. I will do it.
Yep. Yeah, it's hard to find actors like that, to be honest. But they're actors that, if they're truly actors and they love their craft, they will. The story will find them. And it's so a sidebar, but I just recently saw an interview. I love this quote, and I can't remember his name, but it's the guy that played. Did you see Top Gun Maverick?
Yes.
He played not Goose, who was Teller. His name is Teller, but it was the guy. It was kind of the bad guy, the bad boy guy of the movie. If you say his name, I'll say it. But really good looking guy.
Glenn Powell.
Obviously. Glenn Powell. Yes, thank you. So Glenn Powell's like promoting a movie right now, and he was asked about because he auditioned for the Goose, not Goose, but Rooster. He auditioned for the Rooster role. He said he felt really bad because he didn't get it. He thought, man, I really wanted that movie. But he said Tom Cruise called him up and said, hey, I know you didn't get the part you wanted, but I really want you to be the part of the movie. Let's talk. So they sat down and talked, and Glenn was like, you know what? I really wanted that role. I just don't think anything else any roles in here are really good for me or whatever. And he said, Tom told him, he goes, just a little piece of advice. He just said, don't look for a role in a great movie. Because he's like, I really want to be a part of this movie kind of thing. He goes, don't look for a role in a great movie. He goes, look for a role that you can make great.
Oh, that's amazing.
Right? And he was like, okay, well, then I'm going to do this role, and it just so happens it was like the biggest thing of his career, But anyway, that's a lot. I think a lot of actors have that mentality.
Oh yeah.
So
I mean, I wish that quote was around when Imelda was cast as Umbridge in Harry Potter, because when you read the books of Harry Potter, Umbridge is described as a toad-like woman. And so she wanted to be in Harry Potter because she loved the books. And so she auditioned and they're like, you got Umbridge, or you look like Umbridge. And she's like, what? But she made that role great.
Yeah, that's it.
Like you see, there's one, there was a trending TikTok where this individual said, I want you to say one thing that we can all agree on. You can't find it. And almost every single stitch I saw is just people pointing at a picture at Umbridge.
How funny.
So I wish that quote was around for her, because while in my opinion she didn't look like Umbridge, I think she's a very beautiful woman. She made that character just come to life. So that's such a great quote.
Yeah,
I love that.
That's awesome. Anyway, a little bit of a tangent on filmmaking there, but a lot goes into this stuff, I think. And again, that's what I think it goes back to our conversation we had a couple episodes ago about the appreciation for all these people that do this. It's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort, and a lot of no's. It's a lot of being a creative, you don't get to do everything you want to do.
You have to kill your darlings, unfortunately.
Yeah, and you are restricted to the budget, unfortunately. So
I mean, because I'm an adjunct professor and I teach media script writing. Mm-hmm. And with regards to dialogue, I tell my students, dialogue is one of the like, you would think it's an easy thing to write. It's one of the hardest things to write.
Absolutely.
Because you sit in a cafe and you listen, you're like, okay, I'm going to make the dialogue be what everyone's saying. But over here you have someone who's like saying like, and then he decided to like go over here. And that doesn't sound attractive on screen.
No.
But you take it out and it doesn't sound realistic.
Right.
Dialogue is one of the hardest, which is why whenever
and you got to give every character their own voice.
Exactly. And you have to give them their own dialect.
Yes.
And it's just like, which is why personally for me, if dialogue is not good in something, I tend to write it off, because I'm like, well, that's just really difficult to do.
I agree. And I think even the best dialogue that you can come up with, it's still very subjective, because somebody might think it's the worst dialogue. You think of movies that have won Oscars that some people say, that was a good movie, but the dialogue sucks. Or that's a horrible movie, but the dialogue is incredible. It's like, it's a big spectrum, and it is very difficult, like you said.
Yeah. Which is why I think The Artist is one of the greatest movies ever. There are only 5 lines of dialogue in that whole movie.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. Real quick, back to the comments here. Our buddy Darth S&M says on the last episode, well, there aren't going to retcon episode 1, so everybody but a Sith must die. The Darth in me is looking forward to seeing how this is accomplished. If they do a season 2, I would really like to be the continuation of the Sith story from here. Seeing Plagueis find Palpatine and all that. Can we just get that story canonized for Creef's sake? I have to keep reminding myself that Leslie said that this story is not what you think it is. Does she mean well written? Wink. I'm loving how the stranger is trying to tempt Osha to the dark side, knowing what we know makes it more sinister. I need a showdown between Vanestra and Darth Stranger. See that whip in a real fight. Looking forward to the Rogue One commentary. Can I request that it not be the 13th or 20th? Oh, okay. Sure.
Okay.
I got stuff going on and really want to be able to watch the movie with y'all and try to sway Hannah to our side. Rogue One is Griffin Wizard. Yeah, I need you there, Darth, so we'll definitely we'll definitely. So let's tentatively let's if we can. I don't know if you said 27th. I thought you said was okay, right? But
Potentially.
we'll see. We'll see. Okay.
27th might be okay. And maybe
Yeah.
we'll do, because you've said before on this podcast how you think Rogue One and A New Hope are one movie.
Yeah, it definitely is. Or it's
Maybe
one story. It's one big story.
maybe we do that.
Wait, we do both together?
Why not?
Dang, that's all. That's what?
We are
That's 4.5 hours.
we are kind of behind.
Well, we don't. We're not. We set our own deadlines, right? So, but I get it. Well, I don't know if we. I don't know. That'd be a long way.
Maybe that's too crazy.
That might be too crazy. Okay. Thanks, guys, for that. There were some comments. Let's see.
I have a comment that wasn't necessarily like posted, but when you're done reading yours, I have a
Yeah,
comment.
go ahead.
I want to hear what you think about it.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, so my husband has not seen Acolyte yet, but he's seen some videos of commentary on it. And one thing that some people are saying is that the Jedi fighting structure, while it's very cool and there's jujitsu in there, there's also a lot of samurai technique. In the sense of, if you carefully watch the fights, they're only focused on really one end of their blade. They're not really encompassing the fact that not only can you hit them going like this, but you can hit them going like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know if that was something that you noticed, if you think that's something that we can just chalk up to, oh, well, that's just how the High Republic trained their younglings.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I mean, I don't think I noticed. So you're saying when they fight, when they swing, they're only swinging the one side of
They're
the saber.
swinging the one side and then they'll swing the other side. There really isn't. A couple times they'll go back, but if you really look at it, it's very much dependent on one side, very much like a samurai sword.
Yeah. No, I think that's true, because I feel like even looking at the prequels, I mean, that was kind of the case.
Well, yeah, if you look, though, at Anakin and Obi-Wan's fight, that's not the case. They use both ends of the blade. So I guess my question is, like,
Yeah.
because if you're a Jedi, you would know, oh, I can use all ends of the blade. I don't have to use just one side. Do you think so? Do we just chalk that up to that's how the High Republic?
It could be. Yeah, could be. I mean, every one of these, unfortunately, it's like every one of these series, whenever they go into training, it seems like they're always using a different coordinator, or a different martial artist or swordsman, to train. So I think they're always going to be a little different. I think that's fine. I think it doesn't keep them, I guess, cornered into looking like the same fights all the time,
Yeah.
But the samurai thing makes complete sense, because that's what the whole Jedi thing is derived from, right? Is the seventh samurai. Right. So that makes sense. I mean, but I definitely love the incorporation of this with jujitsu or martial arts, because I've always kind of envisioned that's kind of their style.
Yeah.
I mean, samurai is an Asian kind of culture. Background, so
Japanese.
should be some karate, jujitsu style fighting involved in that too. So yeah, love it. Let's see. I wanted to point out Zach in our Facebook group has been commenting a little bit on his thoughts on these episodes. I need to go back and sorry, Zach, I need to go back and answer you on some of these questions, which I'll do. But he does mention last episode 6 that, and he's been on the fence, it seems like, in the show. Like he lists some positive, he lists some negatives. Most of it he's got. I do want to say some of his questions. He says, question about the cortosis metal helmet. This is before the prequels, OT, and sequels. Why isn't the metal still used by either Sith or Jedi? It would seem like a very useful thing to have. I believe that cortosis, as far as what it's been, I believe what it's been in Legends, and they're obviously starting to incorporate this because this is the first iteration of cortosis in canon, that it is actually a rare piece of metal. It's not found everywhere, It's similar to Beskar. It's not everywhere. So I think that's why you haven't necessarily seen it beyond this. But it's also to say that just because we haven't seen it doesn't mean it doesn't exist in the prequels and the OT and all that either.
Well, it could be those Jedi Padawan children we saw training, or the younglings. Sorry, they're not Padawans. The younglings training in Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Their helmets could be that.
Correct. Which
And
is interesting.
It makes perfect sense because you have a bunch of younglings wielding lightsabers.
True.
And they're blindfolded. And did you see how close they're standing to each other? I don't know if you met a kid, but a kid would go thwap just for fun.
Yes.
So maybe they're still around.
That's true. I think that's right. I think the younglings' helmets are definitely probably cortosis. It completely makes sense.
Sorry, not a slight tangent. This is totally related, but we were in Disney once, and there was a little boy who could have used a cortosis helmet because his brother was swinging around a lightsaber, and his dad said, "Stop swinging around the lightsaber, you'll hurt someone." And he kept doing it. 5 seconds later, thwap, hit his brother on top of the head, and his brother was like, and so of course he did the big brother thing of shh, it's okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
So his brother could have used the helmet there.
Yes, very much so. That's funny. See, Zach goes on and says, I wish that these limited series or only 8-episode seasons, that they would make episodes longer to answer more of the questions and to allow better allotment for storytelling. If other shows can do longer episodes, I don't see why Disney doesn't do this with Star Wars. I don't think it's a money issue. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about that, though. I very much think it is a money issue, to be honest.
I think it's a combination of money and also attention span.
Yeah.
They might be worried because they have said they now want to focus on quality over quantity.
Yes.
So it could be, I mean, who knows? It could be these episodes were slated to be an hour long. But when they looked at it, they were like, do we really need all of this?
Right. Yeah.
That could have been it.
Could have been it. Anyway, he gave this last episode, not 7, but episode 6, I'm rating a 5 to 5.5 out of 10. So, he says, what do y'all think? I still think Saul might be the big bad. Why else dip out on Venestra just to get the answers from May? Amanda, who Kamora Jade responded to him and said, yeah, so far the most frustrating thing for me is that they're just one thing the whole series is about, and every episode we get little breadcrumbs of the answer. It makes for very unsatisfying episodes because by the time we get to the end, we're still basically where we started. There's a lot of cool things they've done, but overall there hasn't been anything that makes each episode actually feel satisfying. Pretty sure cortosis is super rare, not easy to find. The only thing that makes sense is because Saul wants to find Osha. If he goes back to the temple, they aren't going to let him save her. Yeah, that's in response to Zach saying,
right.
Why is he leaving other masters around? Yeah. No, I agree. That's a good point by Kamara, actually, about the episodes, because I do feel like sometimes, and I said that last episode, like they had a chance to kind of give us a little bit of tease, about this coming episode, and felt like we were where we started at the episode. We didn't get further, but
Yeah.
some things we did, but some things we didn't. So, all right. Thanks for that, guys. We got to talk about this next episode here.
All right. Let's get in. We have not, let's, for the record, we have not discussed this beforehand.
No. And I purposely did not watch your reaction video. I'm going to do one for Patreon as well here tonight.
Okay.
But, yeah, react. So, go first. What did you think of episode 7?
I normally go first. Are you sure?
Choice. No, I choose that you go first.
Okay. Is it bad to say I'm still on the fence?
No, not at all.
I don't know. Like, I love the twist of the fact that, it's not Torben, it's Kalnaka. But at the same time, I'm like, that's such a smart choice to pick the Wookiee, but why didn't the Wookiee rip their arms out of their sockets?
Right, yeah.
Like, and the only thing I can think of is Kalnaka was trying to fight back against the witches. And then that makes me think, oh, wait, did the witches not die? Sorry, my mind is... That is my mind after watching this episode twice, is that there are so, like, it just pings all over the place. Now, the end, I was very emotional about it. It was emotional for me because, whoa, this guy really cares about Osha. This guy deeply cares about it, and I understand the not the vengeance, the oh shoot, what is it called that they were looking into?
Oh, the virgins.
Virgins. Like, as soon as they mentioned, oh, we're looking for virgins, I was like, oh, well, that's going to be the twins. Like, but then that makes me go, but then the mother said that they did something so like if they found out what you did in order to conceive and create these twins, it's like, okay, well, so is the virgins bad? Is it good? Is it light side, dark side? It's the birth of the Force, apparently, or it helps stabilize the Force in one way or another. Mm-hmm. And then you have, and then you see that he has to choose between one or the other, and you see Soul being like, I have to protect them, and that makes sense because as soon as May says sacrifice, like, oh, they have to make the sacrifice, of course it's going to make them all think, oh, they're in danger. Like, that was clearly a selfish choice made by Soul, but I guess for me, the choice doesn't make sense. Like, and why to cover it up like that also doesn't fully make sense. I don't know, like, part of me thinks I understand why they had to cover it up, but the other part of me thinks there wasn't high enough stakes. And then also, so May killed her family? So what does she think happened? If she's like, oh, they brainwashed you, you don't know what they did, I'm like, well, May, what's your side of the story? Because watching this, it's pretty obvious the Jedi didn't do anything. Quote unquote.
Yeah.
So I like the whole thing. I think the reason why I'm undecided is that I feel like I'm more confused watching it than I have answers. And maybe you feel differently, so maybe you can provide some enlightenment.
Well, let me ask you, when you say the Jedi didn't do anything, what do you think? Yeah, so where's the fault in this?
So the fault is Soul, Master Soul did kill Mother Anastasia, and May did witness that. But Mother Anastasia also made a move first. So in my mind, that's a Jedi saying, oh, this girl's in danger, I'm going to save her. So that doesn't seem like something wrong to me. Like, that's like an act of self-defense in a way.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So, like, but that's the only thing that, and that's what I mean, that's the only thing May witnessed the Jedi do.
Yes. Well,
she didn't witness anything else. So if she's saying, like, the Jedi killed our entire family, or the Jedi did all of this evil stuff and you don't know what they did, I'm like, well, May, you only saw the one thing, which, yeah, it's bad. They killed your mom. I'm not, downgrading that at all. That's huge. But you're making it sound that the Jedi killed your entire clan, when in reality you did. So I don't know if the stranger then messed with May's mind and made May think, like, have May see something completely different.
Probably. I think that could be a lot there. We don't know how much he, you know, manipulated her and trained her. So I think that's very possible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just, as we said earlier in this episode, I kind of wish this was an episode that we let stew a little longer, because I don't know. I thought that when we got the answers, I'd have a better feeling on how I felt about this whole series, but I still don't know.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, what do you think?
well, I right now as it stands with watching this episode twice, I feel I first feel a little underwhelmed.
Thank you.
I
Okay.
don't think it's as a serious situation as it kind of was hinted at.
Yes.
Because to be honest, what I'm struggling the most with is, to me, this whole situation was, I know Saul was pushing hard about OSHA, but in my view, this whole thing went down because Torben, ran back there because he wanted to go home. And that part I don't buy that, really.
I don't either.
You know what I mean? Like, because if he's a Padawan, which he is, and he's been a Padawan and a youngling, so he's been a Jedi for a long time. And, your job as a Jedi is whatever the council tells you to do. And I can't imagine why he's so driven of being homesick as being the motivation for him to do these things, because he was basically saying, if we grab the kids, basically kidnap the kids,
yeah,
we can go home. And that's just, I don't know how well that's sitting with me as far as the rationale of a Jedi.
I would agree with that, but we also have to keep in mind he's a teenage boy.
Yeah, sure, but
no offense to teenage boys out there, but y'all are impulsive, and you don't think.
But I don't know. I just don't. I would have felt better. To me, I would have felt better if it was something, even him being partly, seduced by Anastasia still. Like, him making that decision is weird, but if she was somehow, motivating that decision or forcing him to make the decision to come there and force something like this, because in the end, I think that what I don't know either is what Anastasia was doing when she was kind of disappearing. I don't know what her intent was. And if you notice, May was disappearing also. So what was she doing? Was she trying to leave to save her daughter? Or I don't think she was attacking them. So because she was reacting to the fact that Coral was about to fight, because Torben ignites his saber, she gets in this stance, and all of a sudden she's like, no, and then she does this thing, and Soul, like you said, sees that something's happening to May, which I don't know if you noticed either. Did you notice when they're arguing and May shows up, he calls her Osha?
Oh yeah, no, I heard that, and I was like, oh.
So that part confused me too.
No, I think the reason why he did that was he thought it was Osha. Like, he genuinely thought it was her, and that kind of establishes later on how he didn't tell the difference between Osha and May.
Yeah, okay. I can buy that. That's fine.
And
I can
I
buy
just
that.
about the teenage boy ability. But I think at the end of the day, the reason why Mother Anisea did that was I wonder if she was trying to possess with May Coral to get her
Oh,
to stop.
that's interesting. Okay.
Because we established later on that when Coral disappears, she appears in Kalnaka, and the rest of the sisters need to contribute their power in order to control Kalnaka.
Right.
So I wonder if that was her going to possess Coral to try to stop the fighting, and she
Mm.
needed May's help.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I
That's
don't know,
possible.
but
That's possible.
that's just my thought.
Here's the thing: is I think that going back to the actual creation of the twins,
Mm-hmm.
when they are analyzing the blood samples, and Torben says it's the same, like it's the exact same, like they're not twins, they're the same, and he says, and Doris says they split one consciousness into two bodies.
Yes.
But I'm curious. But I'm not. I was thinking though. Does that mean they created a conscious and put it in two bodies, or did Mother Anisea just take her consciousness and put it into? So technically, they're all the same person.
I have no idea. That part did confuse me. I was like, wait, so we got like a yin yang thing going on here?
Yeah,
Like a light and dark side?
I think Mother Anisea. I think I think it's her conscious in these two bodies.
That would make sense because when she started disappearing, that's when May started disappearing.
Correct.
That's an interesting thought. Do you think we're ever going to get an answer on that?
I hope so, but I don't know. I hope so because I think that's what this whole thing is kind of about when they say like the we're going to be the leaders of this, because basically Anastasia, if you think about it, Anastasia, this is her way of basically staying alive.
Yeah, that's true.
She's basically doing what Palpatine did, moving her consciousness into other bodies.
Oh my gosh, is this why the stranger wants to be around Osha or May? Is because he's trying to figure out another way to live forever?
It could be. It could
Oh
be.
my. What is it with the Sith and their obsession of living forever?
Yeah,
Just,
no.
I don't know,
Right?
put your consciousness in a Yoda
It's
species thing.
absolute it's absolute power, right?
Oh
So
my gosh.
so that part I'm actually that part kind of intrigues me. Like that's fine. I like that,
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting.
But what the Jedi do here, like I'm still that's the one thing I'm struggling with is that
Yeah.
I know Kalnaka gets possessed and almost kills two Jedi, but he doesn't.
He could have easily, though,
He
let's be
could have.
honest. There were
I know.
several times during that fight that I was like, dead, dead.
Yeah, and maybe internally he can fight it, or he's trying to fight it. Because we saw when Torben was possessed that he was kind of still there. And then, but the thing about going back to Torben, like, it's almost as if when he was there and he wouldn't let them in his mind, it's like he had power enough to do that. And I feel like he was there now, acting. But I mean, he was following kind of Saul's lead at that point. So, in the end, it's like Kanaka went into exile because I think he felt guilty for what
Yeah.
he let happen. Torben went into complete silence for 10 years and then eventually killed himself. And I'm
Yeah, that's the one I'm like, I don't understand.
yeah.
like, is it like, do you feel that guilty about wanting to go home? Well, I guess maybe if you're in this whole community where it's like, if you do something selfish, you're prideful. And that's not the Jedi way. So I guess that sense of failure
Yeah,
could drive you to that point.
it could, but and you remember the line he said to May was, "We thought we were doing the right thing," and
Yeah.
and I guess the right thing was lying about it. Really, I guess.
It was, unless you want to attribute the right thing into thinking that the girls were in danger. The
Yeah,
girls were not.
yeah,
Because that was Soul's whole thing. He's like, these are witches. There are no way these girls are okay. They're preparing for a ceremony. And then when they test May, May straight up says, you have to be a sacrifice.
hmm
So of course it's going to trigger like, oh, so they're going to sacrifice these girls. We have
right.
to, like, that's Soul's mindset. I understand that, but I don't feel like the stakes were high enough to justify the consequences.
Yeah, and I think I'm there too. I think I'm
And
there
why
too.
did May think she had to go after all four when she only saw Soul
Right,
kill Mother Anastasia?
right.
Like, why does she have to go after all four?
Yeah, because she didn't see anything else.
So I wonder if the next episode we're going to get, and the final episode is everything from May's point of view, based on what the stranger taught her. Or the stranger will reveal to Osha what he revealed to May. So we got the truth in last night's episode, but now we're going to get what Osha and May think really happened. Because that's the
Yeah,
only thing that justifies, in my mind, May going after all four. Because she only saw the one do the one thing.
yeah, yeah.
And then she also, like, there is a world in which she could have witnessed Soul choose Osha over May because he wasn't strong enough to hold up both. So he
Right.
chose Osha over May. So there's a world in which May saw that. But
Yeah,
even then, that's just the one Jedi. Why go after all four?
yeah. I don't know. I guess they were there. That's why she's holding them accountable. But I will say that despite, again, the situations and everything that happened, I actually have a massive amount of respect for Indara because
Yes,
she actually followed everything by the book.
she absolutely did.
And if they listened to her, everything would have been okay.
And then she made that choice in the end to go, no, we're just going to tell the council what happened. May set a fire, burned everyone, we saved Osha.
Yes.
Which is, as Obi-Wan would say, oh, it's technically the truth. It just depends on your point of view.
Totally, exactly right. And she at that point was justifying it, the fact that, what good is that for Osha if you're, expelled from the Jedi Order? You're not going to do any good that way. So she was protecting Soul so that he wouldn't have to face the council. So, but like you said, though, she wasn't lying. She just wasn't telling the whole truth. And you can tell, obviously, from how this series started, is that she wasn't regretting necessarily that decision. She was out there still kind of being a Jedi and living her life. It was really Torben and Kalnaka that were affected the most by this. But again, how they were affected in this, I don't know if it was that bad.
Kalnaka, I understand. Torben, I don't.
Yeah.
Except just the seed of I failed. I failed my master. I failed as a Jedi. And that if you really dwell on that thought of failure and you don't like attempt to break it down and don't attempt to learn from it, that can really eat you up inside.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah. 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 I don't know. I think it was good. I didn't think it was. I tell you what, I really liked the idea since episode 3 when we saw the other flashback. I love the idea from episode 3, thinking that there was something really bad that happened that drove these Jedi like this. Torben to kill himself, Kanaka to exile himself. Like, I was thinking of all these really bad scenarios, and I just don't think this was as bad.
No, it. What?
So
Je ne sais quoi. It's
because here's the thing too. We gotta talk about what exactly did Indara do to Kalnaka when she jumped on him, and because she didn't just push Coral out, like she basically eliminated Coral. Like,
well, that's my thing. Did they all die, or
I think they all died. Well, I think, at least my first impression was that somehow when she took over Kalnaka, like you said, the other witches were then somehow connected consciously to her and to him. So the only thing I can think of is, however Indara got her out of his mind, she couldn't manifest herself back, or she prevented her from manifesting herself back. Therefore, the other witches had nothing to connect to, and then just that's the only thing I can think of that happened.
Okay.
I mean, it's possible they got knocked out, but I feel like they lost consciousness.
Then the only thing I can think of with regards to that is that it has to do with life force. Maybe Indara gave up some of her life force to wipe out the other life force, because we see that we saw Master Luke appear somewhere else as a hologram, and that was through the force. We see Rey and we see Ben healing each other and healing other people with their life force. So that's all I can think of.
Yeah, I don't know. I think she was just trying to get her out of his mind, and in doing that somehow prevented her from. Well, we don't know. It's possible. I guess she could have manifested somewhere else, and then she's still alive. But it didn't seem like she was able to come back, because even in episode 3 is always this, realization that we never saw her body.
Yeah.
So that part's interesting. Again, I think there's still a couple questions there. Like, what was Anastasia doing? How did Indara, do that? Are all the witches dead? I think there's still some questions there, and
yeah,
I don't know. We're not going to get answers, I don't think, in this next episode.
No, I just don't feel like what the Jedi did was scandalous enough.
Agreed. I agree with that, and honestly, I'm actually happy about that.
Part of me is, and the other part of me is like, show that the Jedi aren't perfect.
Yeah, well, I think, I agree with you. I think Torben was the one. I think, because again,
he's a Padawan.
To do what he did, though, to take his own life, like, I think it had to be very bad, and I don't think what he did was
very
bad.
Once again, it comes back to the fact of he was probably just dwelling on the whole idea of failure.
I guess. I mean, if he was the one
that's the only thing I can think of.
Like when he was blocking all those arrows, like, part of me felt like, okay, well, he's gonna go up, he's gonna reflect these back, he's gonna go up there and he's gonna kill them all, and that to me could have pushed that to where he would take his life. Like, he was the reason. Like, he literally cut down people, but he didn't do any of that.
And you see, Saul immediately regretted killing Mother Anastasia.
Yes.
Because when Coral was like, fight me, he's like totally. Even though she was armed, he's like, I'm not, I made a mistake. That's not the Jedi way. Yes. So, I don't know. I just.
Yes, I noticed that too, and I agree. And yeah, he immediately regretted doing that. I think, like you said, I think he saw May disappearing and thought that was something bad was happening, and
then he realized, especially when she's like, I was going to let her go with you, I think that's when he realized the gravity of his mistake.
Agreed. Yeah.
Because he's like, oh, this is actually a loving family. This isn't a group of people about to sacrifice 2 kids.
That's right. Yeah. So, so misunderstanding and I, that's, that's, that's the flaws of being human and having choice. Right.
Yeah.
So I don't think that was as bad as I was thinking it was going to be. So,
I think I need to let it stew a little bit longer.
but man, I'll tell you what, that fight between them three Jedi was pretty awesome.
That was a great fight. That was pretty awesome. Kalnaka could have killed them at multiple times, but that was a pretty awesome fight.
Yeah, and I got to say the part where Kalnaka had Torben up on the wall and he
Oh,
went to
he was like,
strike him and he blocked it and Torben screaming like you could feel like he was hurting and trying to prevent that saber from. I mean, like damn, that's really good. That's really good acting.
that position too, just to hold that position, like,
Yes,
whoa.
with your head getting crushed. I
And
mean,
you're
it's like
like, come on, Force, come on, Force, come on, Force, come on, Force.
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Nuts.
so I like Soul still.
Yes.
Again, I think but again, going back to Indara, like everything she said about him, like don't confuse her feelings with your wants. I mean, she was very wise in this episode.
Was Yoda her master? Like,
I
come
I was
on.
I kind of thought about that. I thought about that.
Everything she said, I was like, did Yoda get teach you that?
Yes.
I was waiting for her the do or do not. There is no try. I was waiting for her to
Right.
say that line.
Yeah, I completely felt that she, had the right intentions. She knew, and just having that mission, she knew that the mission was important. And yeah, man,
Yeah,
I did. She went up in my book.
she did.
I liked how she dealt with the situation, and unfortunately, I mean, even at the end there, she was fighting Saul a little bit, like like God, you. I mean, you could tell in her face, she was like, "You made a
You,
mistake."
he was like, you imbecile.
Yes.
You idiot. You idiot sandwich. You can even see her hands moving up to do that. Like, you idiot sandwich.
Okay, well,
Ugh.
we got one episode left,
I
and
don't even want to think about what that episode is going to be like.
yeah, well, it's setting up to me. It's setting up to be basically a Saul versus the Stranger and May versus Osha, and
Ay, ay, ay.
it's something it's going to go down, and hopefully it's going to be a longer episode because I think if it's not, there's going to be a lot of open ended questions still, maybe leading into a season 2 possibly.
Alrighty.
So we will see, but yeah, since we didn't post any reaction videos yet. We don't have any comments yet on this episode, so we'll read up y'all's comments next week.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, just one, Zach, who I talked about with episode 6, he already posted on the Facebook group about episode 7. He said, again, 3 positive, 3 negatives. He says, pauses, even though kind of dark, I can make out a lot of what was going on.
Kind of dark. Not as dark as the last couple episodes of Game of Thrones.
Yes.
With those episodes, you couldn't see diddly squat of what was going on.
Right.
I didn't want to say that. But yeah, it was dark.
He says, I liked a lot the look of the speeders. The episode's length was decent. Negatives, the Wookiee Kanaka would have crushed heads and ripped arms off of the 2 Jedis unless he was fighting the witch's control of him.
Okay.
But if he was, that wasn't made clear.
Mm-hmm.
The acting and screaming of Coral was simply not good, in my opinion. The side witch characters' dialogue and whatnot was also bland. The dynamic between Saul and Indara was wearing. The jab joke about her having a Padawan and not him was just un-Jedi-like, in my opinion. Overall, I feel this was one of the better episodes, but still would rate it a 6 to 6.5. Some question statements I have from this episode. So May's fire is what started the big fire and killed all the witches. It didn't really kill all the witches, but it definitely destroyed the facility.
Yes.
Because that we talked about, I think that was because of whatever Cora was doing was the fate of the witches. Were the witches dead or just knocked out by Endara, and then die from the explosion's fire? I was unclear about this. Yeah, I think they got I think they died when whatever Endara did. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but I think that they died.
It was either they died then or they died from smoke inhalation.
Correct. Yeah. They were there a long time and had lots of scanning equipment, but couldn't tell there were other beings on the planet, either of the handheld equipment or ship equipment. You're talking about the Jedi. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the planet, it's a big planet. But you're right. I will say you're right. Yeah. Because they do have scanning equipment.
They do.
I think, right?
And unless that scanning equipment is very particular as to what they're looking for, there's no reason why they wouldn't pick up other life forms. That did confuse me too. I'm like, you have all this equipment and you also are people of the Force.
Yes.
And you sense other people in general whenever you're around.
Right.
So you didn't sense them?
And it's possible they could be hiding themselves. Like they have a way to shield themselves from, just like dark side users, right? I mean, Palpatine was able to...
and maybe that's why the girls weren't allowed to wander outside of the walls.
That's very true. Exactly. There could have been some kind of bubble there that prevented... Because I think back to Luke going to see Yoda for the first time. You remember he says, like, scanners aren't picking up anything. I mean, they have abilities to scan for life, but he said massive life readings down there. So it's like they would have been able to scan for life readings, I feel like, unless, again, the witches were, which I believe they were. They were somehow concealing themselves because they wanted to stay hidden.
That makes sense.
So, of course, we have a Brad that commented back on what Zach just said and said, you are being generous in your positives. The writing in the show is bad. And he says the Jedi have been on this planet for 7 weeks, walking around with metal detectors and collecting moss and dirt samples, but they couldn't find anything. Again, I think we just answered that. And then one Padawan wants to go home this whole time, and that's what drives him to his actions that 16 years later will cause him to take the poison from May. Yeah, I think that's the part I'm a little... Yeah. And we still don't know how the base was destroyed, what caused those explosions, and how did May survive, and how did she end up connected with Chimera. Yes, we don't have those answers yet. So we may get that at the beginning of the next episode, but I don't know. I don't know how important that is anymore.
Yeah.
We know that she survived, and that's really kind of... The Chimera, though, connection, I mean, I think that has to be somehow explained at some point, but... Okay. But anyway, yeah, a lot there. I think I will say it's a little odd for right now in a way. I think it's a little odd that this is the second to last episode.
Yeah, it really leaves you going, how the heck are they going to end this whole season?
Yes.
Like, what are they going to do? Are they going to show what May saw what happened, or are they going to show May's backstory of how she got with the stranger? Or are we just going to be like, is it going to end in a double duel? Like,
I think we're going to get a double duel.
I don't think I'm in a place to predict. I have no idea.
Yeah, I think we're going to get a double duel.
I think the problem is there are so many questions left unanswered.
I think the mission, even though it's not necessarily May's mission anymore, I think the mission gets fulfilled. I think Saul is going to die.
I'm at the point now where I think Saul's going to die.
Yeah, I think all four of them will be gone. Because, and that's the thing too, I think that's been a little confusing about this show, is that the show is about the Acolyte, but it's been more about the Jedi.
Yeah, I'm so confused about that. Like,
Because I think I've seen a lot of comments online about that. Like people have been really wanting this to be more of a dark side show.
Yes.
And it has not been.
No.
So
Maybe we'll get a dark side show when we finally go to Korriban during the Old Republic and go to a Sith Academy.
yeah, maybe.
They existed in the Old Republic. There
That's
were
right.
Sith academies. There were a lot of Sith out there.
A
People
lot of Sith.
people would send their kids to go to the Sith Academy.
Yeah, I'm all down. I'm down for that. I'm down for that. All right, everybody. Thanks for hearing us out, and let us know. On YouTube, patrons on Patreon, and of course, with the Facebook group. Whatever. Just let us know what you think about the series. What do you think is gonna happen in the finale? And of course, after the finale, let's talk about it next week.
Yes.
What's your schedule like next week? Are you good next week to record?
Probably not until Friday.
Okay, that's fine. That's good because it'll actually allow this thing to settle in, and I can watch it a couple times. So, because I think it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be a little longer. Hopefully,
I
But
hope so, but watch it be 3 hours long. It'll be like,
I don't know if it'd be that long, but it'd be cool if it was like a movie. An hour and a half. That would be neat.
that would
But
be cool because I feel like then a lot of questions will be answered.
correct. Yeah.
But if it's 30 minutes, I'm going to be like, ugh.
Yeah, that might upset me going into it. So, but we'll see. I think it's gonna be. I think there's gonna be some good action, and I think there's gonna be some tragedy. So, but all right, we'll see. Take care, everybody. Hannah, thanks so much as always.
Thank you, Dave, as always.
All right, patreon.com/Inside the Force. You want to check out our tiers there, and of course, subscribe to us on YouTube and all your podcast feeds. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you next week for the finale of The Acolyte. Take care, and may the Force be with you.